Hey everybody, it is October 28th, Saturday evening. I'm out at camp probably for the last time this year, this season. Leaves are really down. There's still a lot in the trees, but I think they'll be down by next weekend. And I'm going to do a little bit of a catch up, a general update. Not sure what number this is, but I'll have that in the title. Ooh, there are owls nearby. I did not call them in. I think they're used to me being here now. They don't come in every time, but I did call them in a couple times in the past. Barred owls. Oh yeah, and when there's one, there's usually going to be more coming. So this is my setup. I've got all the lights on here. I have to brighten it up pretty good in order to get anything on film. But we're going to be talking about these, and we're going to be talking about some items related to those. I'm going to put you in the tripod here, which I already have set up. Come on, get in there. There we go. And located. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. Okay, please stick around. Okay, I am going to try to keep this as brief as possible just because I'm a little low on battery power tonight and I forgot all my cables. So, this is the most recent acquisition. The Lollipop by unknown maker, all mechanical. There are magnets in it. There's 4 magnets that hold this plate on top, but I just reviewed this one. Of course, I'm guilty. I try not to be biased, but if I'm happy with something that's new, that becomes my new favorite, at least for the time being. Probably till the next thing comes in. But yeah, currently this is my favorite. And the video is worth a review. I discovered a magnetic version of this. I'm almost certain by the same maker, and that will be coming. In fact, I'll just throw a quick shot of that up on the screen here. I'm trying to mix in some photos as I do these to make things a little more interesting. But yeah, go check out my review on that, please, and see what you think of that. This one I just brought as a comparison because it is so much like the Sky Tower by Tego. So this is magnetic, but basically does the same thing. And those are still available. These are interesting. This is the new, what is it called? The Subspace. This one here. And it's all mechanical, and it is a updated version of their old original battle shield or whatever. I'm not sure what it is. I'll put it up on the screen here. But that was the magnetic version from a long time ago, really. And now we have this, which I really like. And it did come in the mail recently, but you know, I think from the very beginning I thought, boy, is this thing loud. And I'm not sure what to think of that. It's this construction, and you know, I have another one coming on the way now. It's the Mermaid Reborn. Here's a picture of it, and it has the same sort of construction in it. So I'm hoping that I can quiet it a little bit. This one, I don't know how I'm going to go about making it a little bit more quiet. Probably the only solution would be softer springs, because I've tried nylon balls and that didn't do it. Not sure what else you can do. It's just loud by nature. So yeah, in my video I said I measured it at about 80, but I feel like it must be higher than that. You can probably hear, at least on my video of the review, you could hear the microphone peaking just because it was too loud for the microphone to handle. So this is the new feeling slider by 01 EDC. In fact, it says 01 EDC on there. I can get nice and close for you, try to focus it. Stainless steel is what I have. The other option is zirconium. There was a titanium, a rare one out there I just saw. The guy said it was made by the maker, given to him. So I don't know how many of those were made. They were limited. But this has the dense pattern as opposed to the standard pattern. So it's, I believe this one's 12. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 clicks either way. And I believe that means the standard one would be 6 clicks. And I have nylon balls in this. Now this uses, I'm noticing some of these newer ones I have are all using the smaller balls. We're used to seeing, generally I could say we're used to seeing 4mm balls in, you know, tracked ball sliders and things like that. But for size, they need something a little bit smaller for these devices, and they've gone to the 3mm balls, which are actually like 2.67 or something like that. And I don't have as many of those in different varieties lying around, but I did have a couple nylon ones, and I put nylon balls in this, and I just can't get over how sweet that is. This is showing up on AliExpress now, and I'm seeing it as a 02 EDC. Instead of saying 01 EDC on there, it says 02 EDC. And the price is about what I paid. So I think it's a fair price. But yeah, if you missed the sale, if you can't get one from the normal sources, you can get one there. And this one I was in love with when I got it, the Gal Studio Rich version 3 in stainless steel. I still like it very much. It can be magnetic or stainless. I'm sorry, it can be magnetic or mechanical. Right now I have it set up as a mechanical. So there's a ball on either side of a spring right in the middle that floats on a little island in here, and this will go either way. The problem is, the harder you try to squeeze like this, the harder it is to move. These are the black plastic pieces in here are they're nylon, which I just learned is also the same thing as, darn it, POM, P-O-M. That's how it's advertised, P-O-M. And the harder you squeeze these together, the less they want to glide. So it's kind of a sticky material, I guess. So this one lends itself to being pushed from behind and held from the front. And I'm okay with that. But otherwise, it is pretty slippery. Even though it has this satin finish, you should be advised that it's a bit slippery. And where I live, your hands get dry in the wintertime, and things can be really hard to grip. This is one of those things, I'm afraid. But I like it very much. And like I've said, if I could afford it, I would buy a second one of these just to set it up as a magnetic. That way I'd have one of each ready to go. We'll see about that. I keep thinking I'll treat myself. Now this one, what a great bargain this is, and a lot of people have pointed that out. It's a PC or polycarbonate version of the one I just showed you, but it's we'll call it the Rich version 1. And it's injection molded polycarbonate in either red or another yellow color that's a little bit like PEI or Ultim. It's 2 clicks. It's a 4-track 4-ball slider. I can open it up here, and whoop, there I lost a ball. But I see it. Let's see if I can grab that bugger. There we go. Wipe the dirt off of it. 4-track 4-ball slider. I have added Teflon tape right down the middle, and I'll show you that in a minute. But so it works perfectly fine with that Teflon tape in there. It doesn't interfere. This is still nice and poppy. But if you want to use it as a free-floating slider, the Teflon tape, I'm just going to dump these in here, worry about those later. The Teflon tape makes it just a little bit more glidable, and boy, once you get good at it, yeah, so I recommend that. Get yourself some Teflon tape, put it in on the over top of the magnets, and give that a try and see what you think of that. the interesting thing about this one is you can 1, 2, 3 clicks up is just as far as you can go, but since this is designed the way it is, there's sort of a lever. The magnet's clear up here, and we're pushing it down here, and that lets us do a nice rotate. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then it just comes right back home. So interesting. Definitely worth. They're under $10, so I don't know why you wouldn't get one of those. This one I reviewed recently, and I'm really happy with it too. It's Ultim, or PEI, and I mentioned it in the review. The only thing that might bug a few people on this one, I think, is the fact that if you don't hold it in the, let's not say if you don't hold it the right way, it's not, there's no wrong way to hold it, but one side will operate better than the other, and I think that's just by nature. And what I mean by that is, if I'm trying to push these down, sometimes they sort of don't want to come down in order, and you'll end up with the USB thing, which a lot of people like. I mean, you could do that on purpose to achieve that. You could get used to that little maneuver there and do it on purpose so that you end up like that, and then you can finish it off. But if you just turn it over, all you have to do is turn it over. Just flip it over, and you'll probably be in better shape. In other words, this one will come down and meet the middle one, and then the middle one will come down with it. And that's as long as you're sort of guiding it. You have to keep it squeezed between your fingers just a little bit, like any other slider, I think. But then you won't have that issue. So I haven't done too much playing around with this one as far as changing the balls and stuff like that. I'm really happy with it just the way it is, and I'm pretty sure that's the way it came. I hesitate to get the stainless steel or any of the other ones, because the PEI insert, for sure, you have to look closely at the video I did about this one. Some of these inserts do not have magnets up here. Instead, there's a screw hole and screws. And on the PEI one, it all makes sense. There's a magnet, there's a magnet, there's a magnet. Same thing, both sides. And when you're holding this and it's working when it's working properly for you, yeah, you can almost feel a little pop when it hits those magnets, and it's really pleasing. And I'd hate to not have that. And I think, you know, some of those different inserts are going to have a different situation there with a screw, like I said, instead of a magnet up here. So be on the lookout for that if you're into getting a different version of one of those. Now the cashew. I just, my friend and fellow reviewer over on, well, his name's Sean Couson, and it is called the Fidget Fix, is his channel. He get a review on these. I think I had one of these on loan from someone, and he had a shiny Zerk one. Now one, you can get this in different finishes. Zerk or stainless, I think, were the only two metal options. But if it's shiny, I think it's going to be more slippery by nature. And mine has the satin finish. I don't know if that's considered a stone wash finish or what, or blasted, but you'd think that would be a little bit grippier. And I'm hoping, you know, I think it is a little bit, but this one can be slippery too. So I'm thinking the shiny Zerk one, or the shiny stainless steel polished version of either one, would probably by nature be a lot slipperier, maybe harder to hold. But if you do have one of these, my recommendations would be to try holding it like this, with the black dovetail. That's supposed to be possibly black Teflon, I'm not sure, Delron maybe, or who knows. But the black dovetail piece would be considered the bottom. Keep that on the bottom, and then hold it. Your thumb wants to move in an arc like this anyhow, so try holding it like that. If you hold it the other way around, it's not as easy. It's just automatically not something your thumb wants to do. Now I found that I like to do it like that, but I have to hold it a certain way. And it's usually letting gravity help a little bit to
keep it in one place. I have to have my hand in a downward motion like this. But I think for the most part, I like it like this. And my recommendation, if you don't like it right off the bat, and this goes for any of these mechanicals, make sure that you've taken the time to try to fine tune it and try different springs, try different balls, because this one, I think it came with all glass balls, which I didn't like at all. Scratchy. You know, 2 of the balls in here are friction balls that these 2 tracks run on. So there's just 2 balls that sit in here and they just run in that track. And they don't really rotate because they're just sitting in a cupped, a little cupped hole. So they're just for friction and guidance. And I took the glass ones out and I put nylon balls in this one, and it made a world of difference. And then I'm not sure what I have as the ball that's with the spring that's actually hitting all the detents. And there might be 2 in there because I think that's how this one's set up. I think there's like three locations to put springs and balls, and I have springs and balls in 2. But yeah, I'd say give them a chance. If any mechanical, try to fine tune it. If you got the chance to, the tools and the parts to try different things, definitely worth doing. So this one is the Come Full Circle by GD and it came out about the same time as another one that I have, that MCZHI, I think. Magic Track Slider, I believe it's called. I'll put a picture up here. I did a review on both of them, but it has that feature where it traps the balls so they don't fall out and get lost. And I like it. These were inexpensive. This was somewhere around $40, and it's supposed to be ebony wood, I believe. And the cheap version, like this one, you could get with either copper inlay and a copper plate or brass, like I have brass. And it works really well. And the reason I brought it is because I'm on, it's on the way, this thing here. And that would be the Mermaid Reborn by GD, the people that made this, in a collaboration with 42 Cosmo. And it comes in 3 different versions. There's a picture. You have to buy each insert separately. You can buy the shell, the outside part, by itself. It's not really like this. It's the same shape, but it's not the same mechanical setup as this. And this is, I don't mean to say this is mechanical, this is a magnetic toy, but you could see in that picture, though, it can be 2 different kinds of magnetic sliders, and then I make 2 different kinds of magnetic sliders and 1 different kind of mechanical, and that's the one that I have on the way. Should be here this week. That one's really behind schedule, so keep an eye out for that. That should be an interesting one. That will have the same interior setup as this one, relatively. So that's what I'm curious about. Will it be super loud? Will it be super light? This one's really light, really light and really loud. The titanium one would be really, really light and probably really, really loud. Where did we leave off? Here we go. I brought these 2 together because they're very similar. That would be the AC EDC stamp in Zerk, my only Zerk piece. And this would be the something shield, the battle shield maybe. I'll put the title up here if I can't remember, if I got that wrong. But that's by Chenyu. And they're both pivot sliders. They're both also tracked ball sliders. And I like to keep the balls in them. So right now, it's 1-2 clicks forward or 2 clicks backward on that one. I think the same, yeah. Well, this one only goes forward. I'll show you the why in a minute, but the thing is, if you want to be able to take the balls out and use the pivot pin, it really can be a pain in the butt because there's a tiny little rubber O-ring. Sean Kusan, again, over on the Fidget Fix, just did a review on this, and he pointed out what a pain it is. What I do is oh, my fire pit just moved a little bit, scared me. I keep the rubber O-ring in there, but it's tucked off to the side. I don't even worry about putting it on anymore. And I'm not going to try to take it off, but I'll show you that I can take these apart. And now the pin is right there. You have to be careful that you don't want to lose the pin, because if you get the, well, it shouldn't actually fall out, should it? On this model, on this design, I think this one's actually captured. So the pin's there. You just have to be careful when you put it back together to line it up with that little hole. And if you got the balls in there, of course, you have to do all that at the same time, which is going to be terrible. Oh, there, I lost balls. Anyhow, I wanted to show you. Let me dump these out. I'll recover the ones that fell on the ground. There, only 2 of them fell. Put this back together again. Where's it at? There it is. So yeah, once you take the balls out, you've got yourself a pretty awesome pivot slider. And if you take the pin out altogether, which I'm not going to do because we're out here and I'll lose the pin. If you take the pin out altogether, well, you've got a 2x4 free-floating slider. Now, those magnets aren't very, very strong, and it doesn't really ladder as well as you'd really like it to, but it will work that way, and it's fun to do, and you know, it kind of makes this thing multifunctional in like 3 different ways, at least 3 different ways, right? So I will now just put that back, and it's the same story with this one, although the stamp makes it a little bit easier. Like I said, there's a little rubber O-ring, and it's a pain in the butt, because if you want to take these balls out, now these I gotta dump in here right away. Those are the black ceramic ones. They'll get lost for sure. Also, when I just dumped that down in there, I dumped the pin down in there, so the pin's down in here somewhere. But what I wanted to say, I don't need the pin to show it to you. Go see my review on the stamp. You'll see how it works. It's pretty nifty. But this little plate on top comes off, and then there's a hole, just like on the Chenyu. There's a place to put that rubber O-ring, and in this case, it turns out there's 2 locations to put that O-ring. And when I'm not using it, I want to keep it with everything, so I keep it. But I put it in the opposite side, so it's just tucked in there, out of use, out of sight, out of mind. And that works just fine. Now you have everything together. You know, I keep the balls with it all the time, and I carry one of those little pill fobs with me if I'm going to take one of these with me. And then I can take the balls out and put them in that little pill fob on my keychain. Next is the Flux by Index. I believe that is what it is, or it's the Index by Flux design. I think that maybe that's right. I have one in aluminum, anodized aluminum. If you're going to get one of these, I can tell you that this version is very, very slippery. Very, very slippery. As soon as I get a chance, this is one of the things I'm going to be sandblasting. And that should solve everything, make it nice. It'll make it nice and rough. Some people wouldn't like that, but I certainly will. And I kind of brought it out tonight just because somebody else in the forums and the groups on Facebook had brought up, like, can it be taken apart? And to me, that was always an important feature for any of these things, even spinners too, for maintenance, if nothing else. You know, if you want to change out the bearings and stuff, it'd be nice and easy to take things apart. I think you'd want it to be that way. And unfortunately, this comes to you glued. But as I was telling the fellow that was wondering about it, if you take something thin, and I think I used something like, you know, I have a Swiss Army knife classic little keychain knife, and that's a pretty thin blade. You work your way in there and just wiggle a little bit and work your way around slowly. Eventually, you'll get it to pop apart. And once you have it apart, once I get it apart here, once you have it apart, you can clean out. Let me try to get that in focus. I hope these are in focus this evening. Once you have these apart, then you can scrape off the excess glue, clean everything up, maybe get in there with some acetone, and that bearing will come out too. It's an odd-shaped bearing. It's not an R188. But now you can take it apart and clean it. Like if before they had this thing glued shut and you carry it around in your pocket, it could get jammed up with dust and stuff. I don't know what they were expecting. Why wouldn't you want to take it apart? So that's the story. You can use something thin, work your way around it, because you don't want to bugger up the inside. I actually did bugger up the inside of one of these a little bit, which it doesn't matter to me. But when I sandblast this, I'll protect these inside surfaces. I won't let them get sandblasted. I'm only going to do the outsides. But yeah, and then it just pops right back together. But this is well known as the most silent, one of the most silent haptic coins or haptics there are. Virtually no noise at all. Next thing I just brought along, I thought it would be cool to show off this and also point out that I saw it is recently available in a new material, not a new material, a different material that wasn't available before, PEEK, Peak. I'm thinking that's some kind of fairly dense plastic, because every time I've heard, video of it and everything like that, you could just, it really clicks. I mean, I imagine it's probably pretty loud. And it looks interesting and everything, but again, I'm happy with this, and I don't really have the extra money to blow on stuff like that. But if I could, buddy, I'd have one in every flavor. But I'm quite happy that I just have this one in stainless. So just so you're aware, that one's out there. And along the same lines, if you're a fan of Metal Toys by Metal Toys DZ, the top D slider, I have the original in stainless. I've always been happy with that. I've taken off the plastic liner there that goes in the middle. That was never necessary, at least for me, on stainless. But then if you're familiar with the story, then the Zerk one came out, and the Zerk one exclusively had a zipper function, where this piece would now move left and right. And I thought that was interesting, but I didn't really have the money and didn't want to get one, and I never did. Then they came out with a, what I'll do? I'll do the, here's a picture of the Zerk one. And what I was going to say is they came out then with a version in PEI. And that one's interesting because it only moves forward and backward. That's it. But I guess, from what I've heard and seen some reviews, the clicks are really satisfying. It's really dense material and pretty well designed. So if that's your jam, then I think that might be worth looking into. And then most recently, it is now available in PEEK, I think. And the liner, which I think the liner, we'll say the liner is this middle piece with the surface plates, the friction plates, the parts that actually touch, might be a different material. I don't recall. I just saw that the other day. But, if I didn't put the picture up already, here's a picture. And that one, they couldn't do, when they did the PEI one, they said, we were sorry, but we can't do the PEI with the zipper function. And they couldn't do the PEI actually with this function at all. Like I said, the PEI one only goes back and forth. But I guess PEI is a little too brittle to be doing things like this with, and let alone having the zipper function. So, like I said, the PEI one does not have that. But that's the big difference with this Peak one, is it has not only this function, but it also has the zipper function. So that must be a stronger, different type of plastic that's more suitable for that design feature that they feel safe with. So that would be very interesting, and it really has my curiosity up too. I'm really thinking about that one pretty hard, because this one I like it a lot. I mean, very unique, so much better than the top B. I'm not a fan of the top B, and I've explored every option for that thing, including the metal sandwich piece that comes with it. I gave it to one of the other reviewers here, and haven't really heard much more about it. I'm not sure if he's had much luck with it either. But top Bs, I'm not thrilled with. That's my feelings now. Feelings change over time, and I did my reviews, and I said that they were okay, and but I think even then, I always try to be honest in my reviews, and I'm pretty sure that I said, I wish they were better than they are. So the top D here is something else, I think, and I think having it in that new plastic material, or the Peak with maybe a possibly different liner, the fact that it's that different material might make it a lot more responsive and loud. And then I'll have that zipper function that I don't have on this, and I'll finally get to experience what that is. So that was a lot of talking about that, wasn't that? Next to last, the S Nano. Why did I bring this? Well, if you didn't see it, if you subscribe to his channel on YouTube, and you should, you'll see his latest releases. He has an interesting coin out that I haven't really heard much about. At least I think it's a coin. I can't remember now. But there is a new version of the S Nano out, and he made it so that, you know, these magnets on the outside are accessible. They're under this plate, so they are accessible already. But he did something with the middle plate that made it so it can come apart now, and you can and play around with the magnets. That was one of the things I brought up in my initial review. This was like, well, you know, it's a shame. I assumed that this middle piece had magnet interchangeability or modularity, and it didn't. Still, this is a fine slider, a very nice slider. It was a great price. It was like $60 for stainless steel. Zirc wasn't too much more. Slides both ways. The only complaint that a few of us have had, like if you use it extensively, there are some sharp edges on here. But there's also, if you have a file and some patience, you can look up a way to make that a little bit softer, those edges. Maybe that won't bother you so much. I've never found it to be an issue, but then I've never sat and used the same fidget repetitively for hours at a time. I don't think that I have. Finally, last tonight, hopefully this story will be over soon. This is the Gal Studio Rifle version 4, entirely mechanical. And I'm not going to tell the entire story, but of course when it came to me, both of the screws turned out to be stripped, and I found out the reason was because the holes that they were supposed to go through were never drilled out to be the right size in the first place. So I drilled them out myself, but they didn't give me any extra screws with this thing. So I had to get back in touch with the supplier. The supplier said, okay, I'll get you new screws. So that took forever. And finally they came in the mail, and everything about them was right except for the length. They needed to be 6 millimeter long, and they were only 5. So I wrote back disappointed, and they delayed and delayed and delayed, and finally it was like 10 days later. They said, "Can you send us a photo of the screws that we sent you?" And I kind of went off on them, and I said, "Sure, I'll send a photo right after I update my review." And I went and I gave it to them, and then I came back and I gave them crystal clear photos, just like evidence photos in a court hearing. These are the fucking screws that it came with. These are the ones you sent. Holding up a pair of calipers to them. I'm showing them that one's 5 millimeters and one's 6 millimeters. And now, where we left off is they're supposed to send me some 6 millimeter screws. But we're well over a month to 2 months, month and a half at least, since this thing came in. And like I said, it works good enough. One of these is totally stripped. One's just hanging on by a thread, literally. And I can get the screws myself, because I know what they are. I can measure that sort of thing, and they could be here in a matter of a week probably. It would cost me maybe $5 or $10, but I'm holding that seller to what they owe me, and I want to see if they come through with it or not. It's working good enough for me, and I've got nothing but time, and I'm just so pissed off with AliExpress sellers. Some of them are so deceitful. But, you know, they're also, some of them are your only source for some of these that can be a little bit rare. So, you know, sometimes you just have to take the bad with the good. But that's it for the Fireside Fidgets, the Hearthside Haptic chat. I am expecting more rain this evening, and it's going to be my last camp probably this year. There's so many leaves down. It's beautiful tonight, though. I mean, it's October 28th. I grew up in a place here where there could be several inches of snow on the ground right now, and I'm in a t-shirt and it's like above 65 degrees. The air is thick with moisture. So I'm just gonna enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this little chat. I like to keep everybody updated with things that, you know, I recently reviewed, and maybe like instead of doing an update review and saying, hey, I've had this for 4 weeks and here's what I think about it now, I kind of like to, you know, get all these things together and do it once as a group every once in a while. And since it's nice outside, it's been nice to get out here and do that. So I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.